The correct creatine for your budget is monohydrate. That is true at every price point. What changes as you spend more is not the form, it is the documentation, the quality assurance, and the peace of mind that comes with verified purity. At the lowest practical budget and a few dollars per month, generic creatine monohydrate from a brand that publishes at least a basic specification for purity is a legitimate option. The creatine market has enough volume and enough competition that mass market generic products from established supplement retailers are typically well within acceptable purity ranges. The risk with very cheap, unverified creatine is not that it won't work, it is that contaminant levels from cost-cutting manufacturing are unknown. Occasional independent testing of generic creatine products has found elevated levels of dicyandiamide and other synthesis byproducts. For short-term supplementation at the cheapest available option, the risk is low. For daily long-term use, documentation matters more. Mid-budget brings access to CREEPR-certified monohydrate and to products from supplement brands that publish third-party certificates of analysis. At this tier, you are paying for documentation and manufacturing transparency rather than for a fundamentally different product. The creatine molecule is the same. The manufacturing origin and quality verification are what change. For most people supplementing daily with the intention of continuing indefinitely, the mid-budget tier offers the best combination of value and confidence. At higher budget, the temptation to purchase novel creatine forms is greatest and most misplaced. Alternative forms at premium price points do not produce better muscle loading in head-to-head trials with monohydrate. The premium pays for marketing, packaging, and the complexity of the formulation, not for improved outcomes. High-budget creatine that is well-documented monohydrate is excellent. High-budget creatine that is a novel form is a poor value regardless of the price. What should you look for at any budget? A purity specification of 99% or higher creatine monohydrate, a certificate of analysis from a third-party testing laboratory, not just an in-house quality statement. Transparent disclosure of the manufacturing source, ideally a named facility. Independent certification from an organization like Informed Sport or NSF for athletes, subject to drug testing. What should you avoid regardless of price? Proprietary blends that list creatine alongside other ingredients without disclosing the individual creatine dose. Products making claims about superior absorption without human muscle biopsy data. Liquid creatine in any budget tier. Novel forms where the evidence base consists of marketing materials and patent applications rather than peer-reviewed trials. The buyer's guide conclusion: spend enough for documented quality, no more. The dollar above that threshold buys increasingly speculative claims. The proprietary blend problem deserves specific attention because it is more common at premium price points than at budget tiers. A proprietary blend lists multiple ingredients together under a single combined weight without disclosing how much of each ingredient is present. A product might list creatine matrix, 5 grams, and include monohydrate, HCl, and citrate without telling you how much of each form is in the 5 grams. You have no way to know whether you are getting the research-supported dose of creatine monohydrate, a small amount of monohydrate padded with cheaper forms, or an arbitrary blend constructed for label appeal rather than efficacy. Proprietary blends are legal but not consumer-friendly. They exist primarily to protect formulations from being replicated by competitors, a legitimate business reason. But the consumer protection cost is that you cannot verify whether you are receiving the doses that the research supports. For creatine specifically, where monohydrate at 3 to 5 grams per day is the evidence-supported dose, any product that obscures the individual creatine form quantities should be treated with skepticism. Third-party certification bodies worth knowing include Informed Sport, primarily UK-based, tests for banned substances and verifies label accuracy. NSF International, US-based 2 programs. NSF Certified for Sport. This tests for banned substances and NSF Content Certified. This verifies label accuracy without the sport-specific panel. And Labdoor tests commercial products for contaminants and label accuracy, publishes results publicly. Each has different scope and methodology. For athletes subject to anti-doping testing, Informed Sport and NSF Certified for Sport are the relevant certifications. For non-athletes focused on purity and label accuracy, NSF Content Certified and LabDoor provide useful independent verification.